to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to welcome everybody to our November 6th meeting. It's a little bit earlier than our usual monthly meetings, but Thanksgiving is in this month. We decided to move it up a little bit. For appointments tonight, Victor, we're supposed to hear from the Greater Wakefield Resource Center. They haven't declined to be here tonight. They had some other stuff going on, I guess. So Pam, you're up.
Okay, I'll answer.
Yeah, please. It's Pam Wiggin from the Heritage Commission.
It's time again to think about whether the Heritage Commission wants to apply for another CLG grant. And as I did each other time before we applied, I always got the Selectmen's approval. It's a lot of work to go through without doing it. So what we'd like to do, we have to have our intent to apply in, I think it's the 2nd of December. We have this month, November, to get it in. And the commission has decided that we would like to get the railroad station on the National Register. And so that's one thing we'd like to do. And again, I'll talk with potential consultants and come up with a cost. It's 100% match, there's no match because it's a priority one. One of the things we looked at was possibly doing the gutters at the station because they're worse than we thought. We've been putting it off, thinking we would get the station on the National Register first and then apply for money for the gutters once it was on the register, which would give us more, a higher level of possibility. But I've checked in Concord and priority 2 funds have not been allocated for several years because they didn't even have enough money for priority 1. So even though we feel the gutters are really important, I'll talk about that in a second. We'd like to apply with the CLG grant to get the station on the National Register.
By station, you mean the freight house?
The Union Railroad
Yep.
Station.
Yeah.
And I was told by the previous SHPO director in Concord, there's a new one, but Peter Michaud, who worked with us for many years, that the freight house is a contributing factor. So because of that, it would be included in it, but it doesn't stand alone to be on the register like the station would. So we can,
But it's all on the same property, isn't it?
no,
The freight house?
we bought them separately.
Okay.
We bought one year and we bought the other early the next year. And they had been divided at some point by B&M. So they were separate, but you need to have, it doesn't have the significance that the station has.
Right.
So it wouldn't be a standalone where the station would. So I'll try to include, we'll hope that they'll accept the freight house too. So that's one request. And so I'm starting to look at funding for the gutters. And there's a couple possibilities. One is the Moose Plate grants. And so I'm coming to ask you if you would approve me searching that out and applying. It won't be until spring, but a municipality can only ask for one Moose Plate grant. And in the past, there have been a couple of years when the Heritage Commission wanted to do things and we stepped back because somebody else, we felt more important. One of them was when the town clerk's records were being conserved, so that they got some money from that. So at any rate, Kelly said she didn't know of anyone that had requested application for Moose Plate, so we're asking that you let us consider doing it.
Was it the freight house you were talking gutters or the train station?
It's the train station.
What kind of gutters?
Same thing that's there. replacement. If you want
Wood and copper.
Yeah.
and lead, wood and
Yeah.
lead. Rick did an assessment down there. If you want more information,
No, I'm
he can
just-
give it to
We're
you.
not talking seamless aluminum.
No,
No.
Yeah.
absolutely not.
Yeah.
If we were, that building wouldn't qualify for National Register.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we want to, there's 308 feet, and we feel that some of that that's there can be used, but some of the fascia behind it on the west side has been compromised, so that needs to be replaced too. Rick did a quick research, well, it wasn't quick, but thinks that we're probably talking about $12,000. So if we got a 60-40 match or even a 50-50, depending on what I can find, anything would help. And it would come from our Fund 4.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with it. We've done a lot of work down there. We might as well get it preserved and get it on the register.
So that's the CLG
CLG
Okay.
and the moose plate. I
and
don't
the
have a
moose
problem.
plate.
Yeah.
So that means if somebody else comes in, we're gonna be working on it,
Mhm.
okay? All right, great, thank you very much.
All right, no problem. Okay, unscheduled matters, public comment number 1. Anybody have any comments tonight? Seems how we don't have any, that we don't have any unfinished business. New business, we have the proposed warrant articles. I don't know if you looked at those yet, Kenny, but just a topic of discussion. If there's some that we want to eliminate, we can talk about that. There's a couple on here that I think that we can do without at the moment.
Do you want to go through them
Yeah,
one by
let's do one by
So
one.
that I
Yeah.
can get some ideas?
Yep.
So, under capital reserve funds, bridge is the first one. So last year, in 2019's warrant, we put 75,000 into the bridge. As of today, I just got the October 31st this morning. So as of today, there's $153,246 in the bridge capital reserve fund. I think I mentioned at the last budget committee meeting, and Mark, you weren't there, I don't know if you watched them, but 2 years ago, the state gave us Senate Bill 38 money, which was kind of a second round of highway block grant money. And it could be used for very specific things, road construction, sidewalk stuff, but no vehicles. And so we had spent about $10,000 of that money. We got $116,000 roughly, and we spent about $10,000 of it doing the RFQ for the engineers for the bridge and doing the bridge assessment and the bridge management reports. So there's about $106,000 left in that Senate Bill 38 money, and according to our auditors, that has to drop into unassigned fund balance this year on December 31st. So since that money was Senate Bill 38 money, my recommendation was to take 53,000 of that and put it in the bridge capital reserve fund, and then take 53,000 and put it towards the road construction, because Brock is asking to ratchet that up to 300,000. Again, if you'll recall, we had Stratford Regional Planning Commission do a road inventory and assessment, and so he wants to start going back to the roads that we overlaid like 2 years ago and chip sealing them so that we can get more time out of full pavements and not have to repave every road every 15 years. So my idea was to take the 106 that's going to drop into December 31st unassigned fund balance in 2019 and have the town reappropriate it, 53,000 of it into the bridge and 53,000 of it into the road.
I'm good with that.
So that's not new money, it's not
Yeah.
new tax money.
Yeah.
But the 53,000 we have proposed here, though, that's going to be raised, though, right?
No, that would come from fund balance,
All right, so we won't be having anything in that.
not from that one.
Okay.
And so then that would roughly make you'll get some more interest in November, October, November, December, but it would roughly make your balance in the bridge capital reserve fund like 206,000, which is a nice start to start looking at the historic bridge. We have an engineer that we got the right way through an RFQ, so we can start to look at that historic piece and that, even what Charlie was talking
Yeah.
about, if we're going to span over, whatever we want to do, we have
$206,000 to start moving that ball forward. So, and then the next one is the ambulance. So we put 40,000 in 2019. The chief is recommending another 40,000. We have 128,000. The CIP committee was recommending 60,000.
So I'll go with the chief's recommendation.
Me too.
Yeah.
Even though I call them the most frugal department we have. But
Well, and if you'll recall, both the ambulance and the fire truck are slated to be purchased either in 20 or 21.
Yeah.
Mhm.
and he balances his amount. pretty
Yeah,
good.
and I talked to him about that, and I just said it'd be awesome if we could buy one in 20 and one in 21. 'Cause that way it doesn't, if you have to put a little more money with it, it isn't so painful.
Right.
The fire truck, same deal. We put 75,000 in it last year. The chief is recommending an additional 75. There's 306 in it right now, so that'd give him about 401,000.
No, the,
481.
in the CIP.
And the CIP recommended 100,000. So just between those two, that's 45,000 in new money. I mean, this, and this is coming from taxes, so, 45,000 more. The chief is comfortable with this. And then if you look at the next item down, which is a brand new item, the CIP committee is recommending 45,000 go into a capital reserve fund for a rescue boat. The chief did have a rescue boat on his plans for CIP, but he thinks he can wait until next year to start funding that.
Mhm.
So that's kind of, those three are the fire department ones. I'd go with what the
Yeah,
department head is recommending. I mean,
you know-
he's never really steered us wrong.
No, I know, Todd is pretty much in tune with what he needs. I don't know why they're jacking these up. Is there any reason that the capital improvement CIP
think-
committee is doing this?
I
or-
think, my guess would be that the chief is starting to spec these out and they're coming back at higher than what he anticipated. And the CIP committee is saying, let's split the difference and make sure you have enough money to do one next year and one in 2020. I think there is some argument to be made for maybe asking the chief, like, which one do you want to buy first? Which one are we close to having the money for? And then maybe increasing that one so we have enough to do it for sure in 20, and then leave the other one, at half so we can do it in 21. But if I think that he's confident that he can do it in 20 or 21. I think the CIP committee is not as confident.
Well, I've known him for years. I'm very confident in his abilities, so I'm going to go with the chief's
Yeah,
recommendations.
exactly. He knows the condition of the ambulance, how much more we're gonna get out of it, and rotation of it, and, when he has had concerns, he'll drop the fire truck and raise the
Right.
ambulance,
Yeah.
and when we do need something. If anything, I'd maybe start a capital reserve for the fire rescue at, 10,000 or something
Fire
like
boat.
that, just,
The fire boat.
just to, start the process.
I'm not in favor of the fireboat just yet. I don't know what they're looking for. or
That's
what-
a airboat for ice rescues as well, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's slated at 90,000, so it'd be 45 this year and 45 next year. I'll just keep it in the background and kind of as
Yeah, we'll
other.
discuss that one a little bit
Okay.
further.
Did you get your tax bill yet? Is that what?
Yeah. Well,
We know what the increase is.
oh, I do.
Yeah.
Everybody does. I put it on Facebook.
Yeah, everybody put it on Facebook.
Highway heavy equipment we put 75,000 in last year. The director is recommending another 75,000, and there's 79,223 in it right now.
What's he going to be slating that for? The grader? Is that what we're
I think
That's
right now we're
nice.
looking at a grader. He's trying to find a used one for 75 or 79, what we have in it right now, but it won't just be for that. Eventually we'll have to buy trucks again and
Well, he's got the separate line for trucks, so.
right, so, excavators, graders,
Loaders.
loaders.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's just keeping that so that we don't get hit with a full year.
No, I'm good with that line.
Highway trucks, so this, we put nothing in it 2019 because we bought two $209,000 trucks in 18, and $185,000 six-wheel truck in 17. But he is proposing 50,000 to start, because in 10 years, we're going to have enough money to start replacing those as well. So there's $10,054 in that account right now, and he's proposing 50.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Mark?
Yeah.
Transfer station heavy equipment. So 75,000 last year, we're down to $156 in that account. There's been no recommendation to put anything in that this year. I didn't know if you wanted to, put a placeholder 5,000. I don't think we need anything currently, but obviously, like with highway department heavy equipment, eventually we will need something. We tried to change the purpose of this last year from heavy equipment to just equipment, and it needed a 3/5 vote and it failed, so it is still just heavy equipment. And there's $156 in it, so. Do you have any strong feelings about that either way, or do you want to hold off and see what it all comes out to before you?
And that's what gets tough when you have the definition of heavy equipment to figure out. We end up with the trustees helping us with how heavy equipment is.
Yeah.
Well, they bought a truck out of heavy equipment this
Yeah.
year,
No,
which,
that's heavy.
It is heavy.
It's heavy.
It's not. I know there's probably a couple of more dumpsters they could buy and things like that, but that would be heavy. But I wouldn't look at it
But
as,
it's not quick.
I think equipment would be more mechanical.
Well, we just
we're gonna
put,
skip that one for now, and
yeah, we can think about that one.
Yeah.
We'll probably put a little in there, just to keep
Yeah.
it going.
$5,000.
Yeah.
So we skipped it in, put $5,000 in.
transfer station facility. So we didn't put anything against this last year, and we've spent the better part of, I think, 140,000, maybe a little less. Brock is recommending 125,000, 65 for improving the integrity of the concrete walls, and 60,000 for paving the parking lot. There's only $455 in there. The CIP has the parking lot paving at 80,000 for 2021. So
Is that, we're proposing moving the scale. Do we have that money already for that? Because that's
No.
gonna be costly.
no, there is $455 left in that
Yeah.
account. We have no money for anything. We have spent, I want to say at the beginning of the year, we had 142,000 in there, and we've spent, we had to spend 10,000 on Eversource moving poles. We bought the compactors, the balers, we've done, and the truck.
Dumpsters.
Have we
Right.
got a figure for moving that scale?
No, we're hopeful that it won't be as bad as we're thinking.
I don't know. I remember when they put that in, they had to dig down. and
Yeah, we would have to do the dig thing. We found the original plans,
Mhm.
so we would have to excavate down, re-pour the footing, relocate it. And then we talk about just changing the fees and eliminating using the scale. Going for at the wastewater facility, going by gallons, having a gallon flow meter over at the wastewater.
Yeah, I know we talked about that, but
And
Construction debris is your problem in the transfer station.
Yeah.
exactly.
When we paid to put the scales in Wilton, which is a regional transfer station, we received $50,000 more revenue in construction.
Oh,
because people were
I think the
eyeballing it.
scales
and they-
needed.
Me too, I think it's
They were
warranted
not
just
accurate.
to eliminate a heated discussion.
Well, yeah, it keeps it
Yeah,
fair.
yeah.
you know?
So I think we are going to still need to
Yeah, some
relocate.
people's eyeballing is better than others. You don't want me eyeballing the load.
Yeah,
But,
pickup truck of rocks or pickup truck full of feathers.
Are you thinking that moving the scale should
Well, I
be a
don't know if
priority
it- I don't-
above
I
these
don't-
two things right now, or in addition to
well,
these
it's
two
gonna
things?
affect the paving. I mean, if people are getting used to where it is, you might not even have to move it, you know,
Yeah.
it is kind of in the way a little.
I think one of the first things is getting the septic trucks out of there, because as they're getting on the scale and you've got a backup of the compactors here, and they're trying to get in just to eliminate them out of there. And I think they would probably like it too if they didn't have to go their way, go dump, come back, and go through the crowd. If they could just go and electronically turn on a pump, a flow meter, and flow automatically, that would generate a bill, basically, the legend of when they came and when they went, who it was, and put it automatically right onto their account. So that was one of the areas we were headed with that.
Yeah, let's come back to this one, let's split that a little bit further. 'Cause I do agree we need more paving down there.
But we need to fix the concrete wall first.
Yeah.
We can't do any paving without fixing the concrete. We're gonna patch all the areas that were dug out,
Right.
the trench, and we're gonna patch that once it's all as compacted as we could get it. So they should be patching that up the next week or so.
I can't remember what the ask was for this year. So invasive species. Last year, we raised and appropriated 30,000, which was the same as the year before. We kind of held, I did not fill in, I want to say the requests we have for this year are like 32,125. My recommendation is you stick with the 30,000, it seems to work. We
That's
did
what I'm
have one lake,
Yeah.
one lake did want to increase by 2,500, was it Bulge?
I believe it was bought by 2,500
For the lake host
their
program,
lake
to
host.
join the lake host program.
So their total still would have been 10, and I think Belleville was either 75 or 10, I don't remember, and the other for their lake host programs was the same, so it was like 14,125. And they're so close to
At least Balch has 3 towns to draw
30 to
from.
35.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
if you're going to let Bulge increase theirs, then we would have to do the 32.5, I guess.
I'm good with 30.
Yeah, let's just go with
Stick with the 30
Yeah.
and level fund everybody.
Mhm.
Okay. Cruiser, so we talk, or I'm not gonna call it a cruiser, a police vehicle, because it's not really a cruiser anymore, it's an SUV. So last year we put 45,000, the chief is recommending 35,100. We have 46,639, but we haven't paid for the 2019 vehicle yet because he hasn't taken delivery on that. So I believe once he takes delivery, there'll be a few $100s left in this. So the 35,100 does not include the 14,000 we need to equip it. You put that in the operating budget. The CIP committee was still asking for 43,400, which was the original ask, I believe. So the chief you've kind of talked to him about that. The 35,100 is a good number.
Yep, that works for me.
Is that all we're buying now, is SUVs?
I believe he's transitioning to SUVs. I think by the time you deal with East Wakefield being more like Ossipee for snowfall and who's going out there, and I think that is pretty much what we're moving to. And that, because of that, when we retire an old police vehicle, the cage and stuff doesn't fit, so that's why and I think this is the last year where we'll have to totally outfit a new vehicle. After this, unless the vehicle body style changes again,
You know,
we should be able to continue to use, the equipment and just trade it out. Here's one of the new ones that a department head is suggesting. The chief would like to start not a capital reserve fund, he would like $9,500 raised and appropriated for a security system for the public safety building, which includes a key fob and video recording capabilities.
is that cameras throughout the building? And the booking room and everything on that side?
I don't know how many cameras it includes, I haven't seen the whole thing.
They have cameras in the book room anyway.
I haven't been there.
I haven't been there either, but.
95 sounds cheap for video surveillance, but
Yeah, I'd like to
He-
hold off on
He had Northern Security come and look at it, and I asked him to send them up to my building because, not for nothing,
we don't have anything.
Yeah, they all carry guns.
Mm.
I would like some kind of, I would at least like a camera on our front door and our back door
Yeah.
here.
Whether it's slip and falls or.
Yeah, I think it's worth watching our entrances.
Who was this person?
Well, and we had an occasion last 2 years ago where the back door was blocked open with a brick.
Mm.
And I think you caught it. You or Cindy caught it like at 8 o'clock at night. Yeah, it's just it's difficult to keep a hold of this whole building, and I'm not sure that 2 cameras are going to keep us safe. But I think that nobody here carries guns regularly.
That's why we have Ed.
You too.
Well,
I
not nobody.
think that's worth revisiting
Yeah.
with the department head's input.
Okay. So the next one is changing the purpose of the existing public safety building phase 2, because it's been completed,
Mm-hmm.
and that was very specific for phase 2, and it's done, to maintenance improvements to the public safety building. So we're gonna get down to one here where John, Chief Ventura and Chief Nason have recommended $50,000 be put in for maintenance, capital maintenance and improvements to the public safety building. There's no reason why the current $6,127, we can't use it for phase 2 because it's done.
Yeah.
We could change the purpose of that, and then this would be the place where you raise an appropriate, the next one down is the new raise and appropriate $50,000 to the new public safety maintenance and improvement capital reserve fund.
Does that just take a majority vote?
No, changing the purpose takes the 3/5 vote.
No, the other one, the 50,000.
The 50,000
To
going
establish.
in would just be a majority, but the problem is if they don't change the purpose, then you don't have it. So I'm not sure if it's,
Well, we wouldn't have the 6,000.
It'd still be there.
we
Oh,
wouldn't
yeah,
have the
we'd
capital
still-
reserve
yeah,
fund if they
yeah,
didn't
yeah.
change the purpose.
Yeah.
So maybe what we want to do is write to open a new capital reserve
Exactly,
fund
that's what I was
for
thinking.
maintenance and improvements, and then vote to
Eliminate the other one.
eliminate the other one and put $6,127 from unassigned fund balance, because that's where it drops
Mhm.
into this, out of the 50,000, then you'd only have to raise and appropriate 44.
Where are we gonna put $50,000? I just completed this.
Well, I think
They
the
need
roof
furnace.
is the next stop.
Yeah, they're gonna need a roof in a couple of years,
It's
and
20
one of their
years old
furnaces
now.
went last year, and the
Yeah.
other one is just as old. And I think that was $7,000 or $8,000. I think they're just kind of trying to plan ahead. My take on this one, not that this isn't a good idea, but I would strongly suggest that if you're going to start capital reserve funds for buildings, that you look at starting a capital reserve fund for the DPW building, which is in a lot worse shape right now, I believe, than the public safety building right now, and maybe create one for
One
each of
for
those
each.
buildings and put 25,000 in
In each,
each.
yeah.
And 6127 can come from unassigned fund balance for the public safety building. Because I think that down the road, I mean, we already know there's a furnace problem at the public safety building. That wood burning stove is no longer working properly. There's big gaps, the actual metal building is starting to pull apart. And I'm not sure what the fix for that is. You know, there's a lot of things going on at that DPW garage that need some tender loving care.
I'd like to get more of like, like when they're making these new things, I'd like to get a list of something about what's going on, like we say roof here, DPW over here. I know these buildings need maintenance, and that's something I'm gonna be bringing up in my report there. I was up there working on the clock there. We got a few issues up here.
With the shingles. the
Yeah,
roofing.
I got some pictures
Yeah.
I'll send you.
Yeah,
Quite a
I
few
think that
missing.
window is gonna fall off too. That window is gonna fall off and either hit somebody or Charlie was gonna
So
come try to
we
take a
should,
look at it for
when
me.
we're developing these things, we should have at least some kind of a punch list of what we're anticipating.
To justify it,
Right.
yeah. I think looking at the DPW building, it's really replacement is probably, or a major addition to it or something like that versus dumping much money into it. And the public safety building is 20 years old now, so we'll have to be looking at, I don't think it's a tremendous amount of repairs, but just the roofing and the mechanical system. And we've replaced one furnace, we need to do the other one, I would imagine, sooner rather than later.
So if you look at the CIP, they did include the roof for the, I believe, for the public safety building.
What was the estimate on that?
Let's see.
Town hall improvements.
Public safety building, CIP furnace replacement, 12,000. But they're not starting to save for that until 2021. It looks like they just put 50,000 and they didn't say what it was for. So I can get a list from John. Do you
Yeah.
want me to get a list from Brock at the same time?
It'd be helpful to, justify some of this stuff with,
Okay. Do you want to leave 25 for each building on the table at least to talk about again?
I like that idea. Then whether we eliminate the existing one and just put the 6127 back into the,
Yeah, then what I would say is you just vote to discontinue that. That'll drop into December 31st fund balance next
Yeah.
year, but you can take it out of this year's fund balance to put it in. And that could be against the 25,000 for the public safety building.
so we would just word the warrant article to discontinue this fund and transfer that into the new fund.
start 2 new ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't say transfer. You have
No.
to end that capital
Yeah,
reserve
well, and
fund
that's
with
it.
that money going into unassigned fund balance.
Right.
And then you have to appropriate this out and say that,
6,000.
20,000 will come from taxes and 5,000 to come from December 31st fund balance.
Yep.
The technology fund. So last year we raised $11,000. The recommendation is $13,785, and there's $357 in it right now. And that is, I believe, for our matching funds for a grant for the PD to do e-ticketing out of the vehicles. The state is kind of pushing hard for police departments to do e-ticketing.
Well, good, they can pay for
Okay. So that's a no?
it. Seriously, I mean, come on, we're pushing for it, we pay for it.
How does the
Right.
e-ticket work? Is that, you're trying to pay right then and there, or just electronic version?
No, it's electronic, so there's a print, you have to have a separate little system and a little printer right in the vehicle. And he's already, so, like I said, the state's starting to push towards this, so CCS has been doing a number of these. There are grants for it, eventually the grants will dry up when they force you to go to it. I don't have any strong opinions about this either way. Can jump on the bandwagon when there's grant money available, or we can,
The technology fund was developed for computer systems.
Servers,
Yeah, servers,
workstations.
yeah, workstations. I'm not in agreement with that, I just leave it at 11,000.
so
See
the
what
whole
they-
13,000 was for the e-ticketing system. I didn't, the only thing I had, and I didn't put in because of what the police department was asking for, is we gave one of our selectmen's laptops to the cemetery department, so they didn't have to buy one out of their budget. I didn't know if you wanted to replace that. If you do, then we should budget a couple $1,000s for that.
I would think put a couple thousand just in case somebody's computer crashes. The servers are all leased, the copies are all leased.
The copiers are leased, both servers at Town Hall and PD are leased,
They're-
all the desktops are leased. The only thing that we have to still pay for are laptops.
Yeah, but even though they're leased, they're still on a replacement plan and it costs money to.
No, we pay monthly, and that's in our operating budget.
it doesn't cost us extra for them to come in and set those up?
No, everything is included in our maintenance agreement.
Okay.
So my maintenance agreement is in my operating budget, and the PD and the fire is in their operating budget. The cemetery has $300 to maintain their laptop. All our antivirus, all our replacements are in our operating budgets.
Firewalls, everything.
The only thing we have to pay is if, if for some reason, like, the supervisor's laptop got stolen, if the cemetery lost their we would have to. So I don't think $357 balance in it is enough to do anything with, so, I would put $2,000, $2,500 in.
Yeah, I'm good with the 2,000.
And that way you would have enough, if one of you doesn't run for selectman, if Charlie doesn't run next time, it was his laptop that went to the cemetery, we should, have enough to replace that at some point. You're okay with 2,500?
Yeah,
I was at 2,000,
I
but
like 25.
Town hall improvements, so last year we put 10,000 in here. I wasn't really recommending anything because there's a lot of asks for this year. But I'm going to need furnaces someday. I have 2 furnaces here as well. I'm going to need roof work. I'm going to need to rebuild this front facade, and I can't even get a mason to give me a price on this. I don't even know, 12, 15, 20,000. I don't even know what someday, that's falling apart.
crumbling out there, yeah.
The flooring in the connector is falling apart because we haven't properly taken care of it, and we got quotes for patching it and replacing it. The replacement was $12,000. Nobody really wants to patch it for us. There are roof problems, there's a, so what do you call the part of the building up here on the side, that white wooden part that has the 3 windows in it? Does that have anything? What is it?
Dormer.
Is it a dormer? So that whole thing is rotted. You can tell that just from looking from the ground, and one of those windows is skewed and looks like it's gonna fall out, and I think it's gonna fall out because the wood is rotten. That all needs to be scraped and painted, or we're gonna lose that facade. And that will require a lift, and that is not a,
Well, it's just like the shingles up there, that's up there. You're gonna have to have scaffolding and all that, that's not gonna be.
yeah. So there's $10,000 in that. I need to do a little bit of electrical work in that office to move Michelle into the front office. We're gonna get the counters done hopefully by the end of this year. They're built already, we just need to get the tops and get them in place. It will take some patching of the floor, and it's not lawful to run extension cords in public buildings, so we need to put some floor electric in it. And I did this in another town, they have to be hardened, so if you hit them, they're like $700 a
Yeah, it's
piece.
wire mold or something like that, yeah.
So I've earmarked some of that money already. I don't even know what to put in that account, but this building is in the same condition or worse than
Oh, it's worse.
the DPW building and the public safety building,
I'd
so.
be okay with 10 again.
Yeah, I'm good on that.
Okay. Highway construction projects. So last year we put $237,500, and this is partially offset with highway block grant money.
Mhm.
Excuse me, which was $141,000. Brock is recommending $300,000. And again, I thought $53,000 of this could come from the unassigned fund balance. We have today about $90,000 in there, and I think we have one more bill for the paving, which is $1,500 or $1,600.
So 247?
He wants
Yeah.
300, so yeah, 50, yeah, 247.
247, which isn't really that much of an increase from last year.
No, and that's to start this process again of, we had the road inventory and assessment done, so, here's the roads we're going to pave, and here's the roads we're going to
Seal.
maintain.
Yep.
And so that'll be, the new norm will be a certain amount earmarked for paving and then a certain amount earmarked for maintaining what we paved 2 or 3 years ago,
Yeah.
and try to get it to last longer.
Now, I'm assuming he has roads earmarked.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yes, and I can get that written list
Yeah.
for you.
I'm okay with the 247.
So I'll write this 300 with the 53 coming from fund balance.
Yeah.
Assessing statistical update, $5,000. The recommendation is $5,000. There's 5342 in there, and the CIP has changed their original request was 12,000. So when we did it last year, we did a full. When we did the reval last year, we did a full field update as well. It's likely that the assessing board will not feel it's necessary to do the full field update again. So that's about half. I want to say our assessment was like 25,000 and the field review was 20, so it was like 45,000. But the assessing board is fine with putting 5,000 in, and if, you know, we do that for 4 years, and then on the 5th year, if we need to put 6,000 or 7,000, then we do that then.
Okay, I'm good with that.
Okay. The Greater Wakefield Resource Center. So we've historically put $5,000 in this account. We currently have about 15,000 in there. They are going to need a roof probably in 2021 or 22. The CIP committee is recommending 19,000.
I like the 5.
I do too. Sorry, I also can't, that thing ringing in my head. No tax dollars being spent on this. Okay. Yeah, we'll leave it at 5.
Leave that at 5?
Mhm.
Okay. Cemetery maintenance. 5,000. Last year, 5,000 again. They've got 13,578 in it.
What does this money go towards?
Yeah, I know, I was gonna ask that question too.
That's not in the operating budget.
My guess would be taking down big trees,
They have used it for trees.
working on the
yeah.
roads in there. If they have to develop a new part of the cemetery, you know, when you fill up one section, you have to develop a new part.
I know we did a well, and I think the well was a separate reserve for that.
We got a pretty hefty balance in now, so.
That's not very much though, if you have to take down 3 or 4 trees and, I mean, for the most part, we help them out with the DPW department where, if and when we can, but sometimes, you know, they have trees that fall on fences, they have trees that fall on the neighbor's property, we're responsible for that.
But usually you can see that's the tree I want to cut down next year and put it in your budget versus, you know, it just comes out of nowhere and you got to grab the money from somewhere else.
Leave it be.
Are you okay with 5,000?
Kenny's hedging over
Yeah. I defer to Mark with his requesting a list of what they need. I mean, if they don't need anything, the 13's fine.
there. Yeah,
And any expenditures was put into their budget.
They have no wiggle room in their budget at all. Because they had, you know, they didn't have the money to buy the laptop. We gave them the laptop and then we had to add the 300 for the, you know, and I think you'll remember deliberative session last year, they actually came and asked for $200 more for their water bill because they just don't have any wiggle room in their budget at all. I'd much rather we put it in when we know we need it than we have every department head come to the deliberative session and ask for another $200.
But on the same note, you should have your budget well adjusted so you can pay your water bill out of your budget versus expending it out of a capital reserve to pay for your water bill.
Well, that's a good idea,
I mean,
but
it should go negative to
Right.
show that there
when
was an
you
issue
guys
there.
get done adopting the sewer budget and the rate goes from 5 $12.75 to $12.57, none of the departments have put their sewer bill 3 times what it was, so, I mean, we could get some pushback from that at deliberative session.
I would think I would ask for an abatement if I'm not hooked up to the sewer with water, such as the cemetery. They shouldn't pay a sewer bill.
I don't-
Because they're just water.
I don't think they do. I don't
No.
know
I
if
don't
they
think
do.
they do.
But usually your sewer bill is water bill, meter reading.
Yeah, if you have sewer. If
Exactly,
you don't
yeah.
have sewer, you
You
wouldn't
shouldn't
get
get
a
a
bill.
bill.
If there's a property that's along the sewer system, but
Mhm.
they're not hooked up, they'll get a flat
Right.
fee. $25 a bill.
Yeah,
if
it's a
it's
stub
not
fee
hooked
or
up,
something like that.
Do you want to just leave that one for now and question it, and I'll ask the trustees what,
Yeah, get a
What
list.
Yeah, if they have some
Okay.
expenditure that they're concerned
No,
about.
it's just everybody gets used to just rolling these numbers over that.
Yeah, because once you, like you say, I think the well they put in was a separate warrant article on its own.
so the only other thing I had is I need some direction on adopting changes to the transfer station recycling regulations. So in this town, the town meeting has adopted the recycling regulations, and we've had enough things change by the process, the availability of how to market and get rid of material, and then the fact that it's not legal, lawful to burn, we still have a burn
Yeah,
thing in our
Yeah.
regulations, which we are not allowed to do anymore. So we need to tighten up those transfer station recycling regulations, and I need somebody to provide me with a draft of that.
Joe's got the draft done.
Okay.
I looked at it and tweaked it, and I'm meeting him tomorrow, so hopefully we can firm that up and he can bring it in.
What about the plastics though? You make it mandatory for plastics, but you gotta sift through everything, look at if it's a number 7, number 2, number 1.
And that's where it's market driven. Now we can put them all back into one thing. I just gotta get them to do it down there. So we don't have to separate, because for a lot of us, you can't see what the hell that number is. I have to have somebody read it to me.
Yeah.
And a lot of it are real tough to read.
I think we
so-
need to,
Except for black, for some
So
reason
what
we
if-
can't put black plastic in anymore.
So what about, so that goes in regular trash?
The black plastic, yeah.
Really?
so we need to write that in a way that,
The selectmen can change it as the
yeah,
market
so,
changes.
so you know how in the end, like the pricing and the commodities are kind of at the end in a schedule? What we need to do is write the transfer regulations the way the board wants the regulations to be. Put that before the people, and then leave Schedule B at the discretion of the selectmen based on state and federal regulations and laws, market availability, market value. I can see there could come a time when, if the bottom falls out of the baled cardboard, that it's not worth baling cardboard, and we stop doing it for a little while until it's worth doing it. We need to write that in a way where there's more flexibility for the board to take advantage of the market.
Yeah, and then there's that fine line to, okay, we're not making any money, we're actually losing, but it's the right thing still to do.
Right.
But then the scale goes too far that it's costing us so much, we're just throwing it all
But
in
we
the
also want to be transparent and honest with the residents
Yep.
of, look, we're asking you to separate this because it's a good habit to get into, but yes, when you leave, we're going to throw it in the trash.
Yeah,
There's no sense lying in
Exactly.
being sneaky about it. Let's just say, we want you to keep recycling and separating recyclables because we anticipate that the market will rebound, but we aren't doing it right now. And we're
Yeah.
only going to do it when it's cost effective.
and I think that was state law under 10,000 population, the transfer station ordinance goes through town meetings, something like that, something crazy. So yeah, hopefully we'll have
So
it.
right now, you're saying we're throwing all the plastics together again,
Yeah,
except for the black?
yeah.
Okay, so there's no market for that other stuff?
The black plastic? Or
No,
the all
no,
plastic?
the 7, 2, 1,
It's all going in with the 1 and 2.
okay.
So we're baling it all together as one, and there's a market for it. I don't know if they're making any money on it, but if we take it out of the waste stream, then we're saving it. So,
We're saving the tonnage and and the transportation.
I don't know
Exactly.
why the heck we can't all use the same type of plastic. I mean, put a label on it. I mean,
Yeah,
make a
well,
nice
it's the
colorful label.
exactly, the different
Yeah.
grades of it and
Yeah.
stuff. What really kills us is the glass, there's no market for the glass, and it's the
Yeah.
heaviest thing there is, so
Mhm.
we keep trying to convince everyone to drink your beer out of a can. We're gonna save a ton.
Yeah, well, die of all.
Yeah. Oh, could the aluminum's gonna kill us?
Yeah, that's what they say.
I hadn't heard that.
All right.
All right, so, and I already talked to you about setting up a CRF for the DPW, so we're gonna do something like that maybe.
Yeah.
And I'll get with Joe Gore, Joe Gore you're gonna meet with him one more time and then
Yeah.
I should have something.
Scheduled to meet
As
with
well,
tomorrow
I
morning.
think we have to have I think we have to disclose that at a public hearing as
Yeah.
well. So, just with what I had, there was about 700,000 of new money, not including the 106 from the unassigned fund balance for bridges and roads. You've taken some of that out. $700,885 would be about 62 cents on the tax rate. And then if you had done all the new ones, which you took some of them out as well, it would have been about 72 cents on the tax rate. So, once we see the full budget together and these, we'll see where we are, but,
Is that something we're gonna be doing this year too? It's like, because I know that's legal now, where you can put that on the ballot.
that will be up to the Board of Selectmen if you would like that. There has been talk about petitioning that on and also petitioning a change from 3 selectmen to 5 selectmen. I believe James Reiner pinged Jim Miller about that. The only thing I would caution about that, even though it's allowed, when you have a year like we had last year where you had a full reval, you're going to put the impact on the warrant and you're going to say this warrant
Not gonna
article
be
will be
accurate.
5 cents, this one will be 3 cents, and it's a lie the minute you print it. And that's been my problem with it. I don't have any problems disclosing it based on the assessed value, but when you start putting it in writing, you're going to get taxpayers that bring the town report in next year and say, I don't care there was a reval, you said my taxes were only going up 3 cents if I voted, and it won't be truthful, because in a reval year, we can't anticipate what that change will be, and, so, I've always
We
done
bring
it.
it up at the deliberative session anyway. I think, we always say, like, with everything on this, the effect.
Yeah, I
of
just
that.
don't put it in writing, I've never
Okay.
put it in writing.
Yeah.
If you would like to sponsor that warrant article, then I can write it, or you can wait for a petition to come in.
No.
Your-
I've always used 10 cents on 100,000 as a goal, and that's a little on the high side. Because you can't really be accurate where everyone
we're at-
thinks the budget we're talking about now is the tax bill we're just going to pay in a couple of weeks. And it's nothing to do with it really, it's gonna be next year's, and that's all balanced on, we guessed how much is gonna come in for registrations and all other fees, balancing that out, what the school asked for. I think it would be inaccurate and misleading if that was to go forward.
Yeah, and I don't mind saying it at deliberative session
Yeah.
based on today's value, but again,
Yeah.
my thing has always been, when you put it in writing, there's going to be people,
That saved that piece of paper.
yeah,
Yep.
but the warrant is the selectmen's to set, not the budget committee. So if you want to think about it for a while, I will put it on my radar. You also can sponsor the moving from 3 to 5 selectmen. That's certainly your prerogative. I think you've done that a couple of years and it's failed, haven't you?
Yeah.
I don't know, I don't remember that.
Did it once, but I
A while
don't
ago.
remember.
We sponsored, the Board of Selectmen
Oh, the Board
sponsored?
of Selectmen, I don't think sponsored.
No, it was a while
That
ago.
petition down.
I think at that point, then you'll take one from Union, one from Wakefield, one from Salmonville, 2 at large, and a town manager. Mark's out.
Not it.
There's one. No.
No.
All right, so
I
I,
just don't think there's a need for 5
No.
so I've got to start on this, and I will go back and get some lists from some department heads and dummy some stuff up so it looks more like a warrant, and then.
Yeah, it's just helpful for me to justify it if you got a list.
Yeah.
If they got some kind of a plan.
Yeah.
So just, okay, this is how much we want.
Yeah, no problem. I will take care of that. I just wanted to get your feelings on what I was looking at so far, so that we can just start to get a,
You know, that's why I bring up the roads too, because we used to have like, you know, like, okay, this road, and this road is slated to be done this year.
he's got a
And you
list.
could make adjustments,
Yeah.
you know, if something happens.
Yeah, based
but-
on the tonnage is how much,
Right.
you know, depending on how long the road is, how many miles and what the tonnage is,
Mhm.
that's what he can get done, so. Yep, I will get a list from him too.
Right. Okay, back on the agenda.
There were two other things, budget driven. One was, did you guys want to change your vote on the Parks and Rec budget to reflect the landscaping bid that came in? It wasn't in when you guys voted on this budget, so you voted his budget at 22,000 and the bid actually came back at 23,400, and the budget committee had a chance to vote it at 23,400. I don't think it matters, because that's the budget.
No, we didn't have that contract.
We didn't have
Yeah,
the contract, and we
contract, yeah.
just used the old numbers of filler. I'll make a motion to change it to the 23,400.
Okay.
Second.
And that would make the bottom line, instead of 185,626, it'll be $186,076.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And then, we never actually voted the sewer budget, and we had a $15 error in there that was actually $1,500, and then the rate would be $1,257. So I think just to make things clean, you should vote on the bottom line of the sewer budget at 120,452.
I'll make a motion.
We'll second it.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, that's all I've got. Thank you. Sorry.
No problem. All right, capital reserve expenditures, we have none. Correspondence, got the Greater Wakefield Resource Minutes and Financials, you got that, Ken?
Yep.
And Clearview Community TV Quarterly Report, get a chance to read that.
Yep, very in-depth. Good job.
As you can see, we're live now, we got Jim's in here, while I was fixing the clock, running wires, to live feed us now. All right, public comment number 2, any comments? Yes, sir.
I was at the filming the commissioners meeting up in the county, and a project manager from Tamworth Recycling Project was there, and she was trying to put together a regional project to keep the recycling going, and you mentioned recycling today, and I was wondering, can she be put on the agenda to talk here, or have you actually had any communication with her? Her name is Ellen Farnham.
I would hook her up with Joe Gore
That's what I was
first
thinking.
before she comes in here.
Yep.
She's got several towns that are very interested, and she went up to the county and one of the commissioners was appointed to their board or their organization to work on some type of regional thing to keep the oil out of the stream, and they mentioned the glass, and they mentioned you by name, you still have the pile of glass over at your landfill. They mentioned that. They mentioned about double grinding it to make it small enough for other projects. So it'd just be interesting that there's a lot of efforts going on around the area to keep that recycling going.
Yeah.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jim?
Point of information, I believe I heard in part of the budget process, the school, that they might be replacing their camera system down there, and I know there's some discussion about, and that might be worth exploring. The taxpayers have paid for those cameras once, and perhaps they might be usable in some situation. The other thing is, regarding the warrants tonight, it may be too early to know the number, but I was listening, I heard something about 73 cents, but how much money, what's the total compared to the total last year? Because that kind of gives you an idea of how much it went up. And I don't know if you have those numbers
I
here.
don't have last
Okay,
year's
that's
numbers.
okay, I can add those up.
I think it was, I want to say it was around 686, and it's somewhere between 700 and 800 now. So
Okay,
they're not anywhere near solidified with those
Right.
numbers. So yeah, I think it's still in the ballpark, because $100,000 is 0.8925 cents on
Yeah, it's about 9
tax rate,
cents, or,
so about 9 cents.
Yeah.
But I think one more meeting before we really get kind of where we are with that.
I see, she's still contemplating those
Yeah,
numbers.
they want some lists, and there's some things that are still in, but we don't know what amount they're in for, and we've got some placeholders, so I've got a ballpark range.
That's fine.
Before it stops.
Thank you.
Somebody will call me, tell us 30 seconds early. Okay, moving on. Town administrators update.
All right, so I have an ambulance write-off. So I have 4 bills to write off and 1 to send to Experian. For you, Kenny. So the amount to write off is $5,406, and the amount to send to Experian for collections is $1,275.
Nothing really can do about it.
No,
No,
without
I'd
such agreement.
just like to reiterate maybe that they try getting the social security numbers.
Yeah, no, it's.
Obviously, if the person's unconscious or younger person, they may not even know where to have it, but,
Some of these are minors that don't even have
That's what I mean,
them, and,
well, they don't know it.
right, or we can't get it from the
No.
parent, or, and they have to get it during the transport, they can't call for it the next day.
Exactly,
That's part
yeah,
of
so
the
if they don't
HIPAA.
ask it, and it's probably the last thing on their mind to ask for, but
Yeah, I do
It's
try
I was
to,
wondering if they, like,
it's if I them.
I know the ambulance, how, if they could just hang out just a little bit longer, because all that information gets passed on at the administration desk when they come in. If that's, they can hang out a little bit longer and get that information before they leave, because they might have insurance numbers, they might have all kinds of stuff there.
I think that's doable sometimes, but, there are more days than not anymore where they have 7 and 8 runs in a day, and so both ambulances are out and they're on their way back when they get called out again. Sometimes they can and sometimes they cannot.
Can you ask that question though,
Yeah,
just to find
Yeah.
out? 'Cause
Just
I
to
think
see if
that's-
it's on their checklist,
Yeah,
the very last question, right before have a nice day,
yeah.
social security number.
Well, just go up to the desk and say, have they filled out, have you got any information on this patient yet, whatever. I mean, because
They may not be able to release that, you may have to get it from the patient directly versus the hospital. But,
yeah, I'll
I'd
talk
like
to
to
them.
pose that question anyway, just to.
I have,
Okay.
more than once,
Yeah.
because when I came here, the outstanding was $250,000.
yeah,
All right,
Um,
so
So,
we're gonna make a motion on that, right?
yeah,
I'll make a motion.
Okay, and I'll second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and that's for both.
Yep.
Yeah.
the next thing I have is, I'd like the board to consider increasing the carry forward for the firefighters' earned time increasing it from 48 hours to 96 hours.
To
And this is-
carry over.
And this is pretty much for the same reason that we increased their earned time, because they're now working 24-hour shifts. 8-hour-a-day employees are allowed to carry 48 hours forward, which is the equivalent of 6 sick days from when we had sick days. So six 8-hour earned days is 48 hours, and that's what we're allowed to carry forward at the end of the year. Every employee who is an 8-hour-a-day employee. They work 24-hour shifts, so for them to get 6 shifts, that's 144 hours. That's a lot to carry forward. But 48 hours is only 2 sick days. So I'm asking as part of that whole earn time correction, since they've gone 24-hour shifts, to increase their carry forward to 96 hours from 48.
I'm good with the 96.
Okay.
Can you live with that?
Okay.
I need a motion.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
So I just got a planning board notice today for a public hearing that's going to, for a conditional use permit application that's going to take place on November 21st. And it's for this building right here at 26 High Street, which is the old, is it White Mountain Gifts? What's the name of it?
Whistle stop for the old people.
Yeah.
There's probably something else too for the
Yeah.
other
So
older
Maybe
people.
a lavender or something like that.
they're going for a
Lighting company.
They're going for a conditional use permit application to put part of the day, so there was this daycare center up in the hill that sold, and they haven't been, I guess, haven't been able to find, I'm just assuming, haven't been able to find a space to take all those kids. I guess they're looking at one daycare center maybe in the building where Dunkin' Donuts is, and then using this somebody else is looking for a conditional use permit. My concern is that maybe the Board of Selectmen might want to write to the planning board and just ask them to be cognizant of this parking lot. Because if you put employees in there and daycare drop off and town employees park there, and there's a new owner for the Garvin building that I'm sure is trying to market some of that space, and his employees need a place to park and their customers, I'm just concerned that the planning board, I'm not asking them to not do it or do it, I'm just asking them to be aware of employee and drop-off parking. Because
Oh, it's
they
this
have no
building-
parking
it's
at all.
This building right down here.
Yes, this little red building on the other side of Fred Branson's house.
Yeah, we're not that.
And
Yeah,
they have
yeah.
they have, I think they have like a little driveway, they have no off-street parking
Yeah.
for this business.
They got no
And-
yard for the kids to play in.
And, you know,
It's a
we know
holiday
from the
place.
Garvin building selling that they get 2 deeded spots.
Right.
There's, I think, 3 handicap spots over there. All the employees that work on this level of the building park over there, and all the people that try to access the town clerk, tax collector, park over there. The library, when it's open, their staff parks over there, their patrons park there or in front. I mean, there's not a, I just want us to ask them to be aware of it before they grant a special use, a conditional use permit.
Well,
And
that's
then-
usually part of their checklist is parking.
Apparently, parking is a free-for-all in the village. It's shared between every business, and there's no requirements for it, is what I was told a couple years ago.
So I don't know what we do if it's on a first come, first served business basis, and, you know, that is all filled up with the employees of the daycare and the business over here, and then where do the employees park? Or
Yeah.
where do our,
Because we
Forget
just
that,
kind of
where do our
got the
customers-
employees stop parking there
Out
and
back.
move up there to open up
so
space
we had,
up there.
and, you know, down back it was an issue because the Level Lake Market's employees were parking there, which was an agreement we had with them, but, you know, I watched an elderly handicapped person try to get from the back of the lot into, because there's only one spot and there was none by the door, and it's just, you know, the welfare office is downstairs, we just kind of rectified that, he made more parking spaces over there, I think we let him have 3 spaces here, but I can see, and plus, you know, the Garvin building just sold, we want to be good neighbors to those people, you know, if he's trying to market that building and fill up spaces, we want to make sure that we're not making that impossible for him to do, I think. I mean, I just think that, you know, a short memo to the planning board saying, hey, you know, we need to know something about parking and drop-off, because that's the other thing.
How many kids they propose in there?
I don't have any idea, it doesn't say. But I cross the street at 7:30 in the morning and I can hear the cars coming down High Street. They are not doing 30 miles an hour. And if you have little kid drop off and they're parking across and walking little kids across, there's only just this one crosswalk. I'd be a little scared of that. So, like I said, I don't know if it's good, I don't know if it qualifies, I don't know if it's an allowed use. I just am saying, I'd like to ask some questions or have the board ask them to ask some questions about parking.
Yeah, yeah, I'm good with you drafting a letter.
Yeah. I think that's gonna be one of the concerns anyway, that there really isn't any parking there
No.
at all.
No, I'm not in any play area.
No.
Well, there's the playground across the street, but isn't that town?
Yeah.
I mean, they could use it,
Yeah, they
Oh,
can
yeah.
use it.
but they're gonna be walking across High Street.
Exactly,
and
usually you
I
have
don't
a
know if
penned in
it's-
area right in the back of your facility or something.
And I don't know what, well, yeah, and the other thing is, you know, and this is for them to consider, it really has nothing to do with us, but I assume at some point the library is going to be doing a construction and expansion project, and I don't know what'll happen then. Where are they gonna stage, what are you gonna do with little kids while it's a construction zone, and there's things to consider,
Well, the backyard's bigger than I thought.
Yeah.
but it's wet, it's
Yeah.
probably wet.
But the state will allow them to use that on their license, that playground.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So we gotta follow up, you're okay with me sending a note to the planning board, Mark?
Yeah, that's fine.
We got a follow-up email from Chuck Robbins today.
Didn't make the cutoff for the agenda.
No. Do you want me to just send it out to you? Do you want to take it under advisement for now? He's making a request that he's making some specific requests, and that if you aren't able to meet him partway with this, then he is going to
Yeah, I'd like to
submit a
know.
Yeah,
warrant.
just email it to
Yeah.
us and we'll read
Email it,
it.
okay. I have a right to know request from a resident about a legal opinion that was rendered about the Heritage Commission's authority over the Garvin building. There's that covenant in the deed about structural integrity, I guess. I don't remember the exact verbiage now because I didn't bring the deed with me, but you paid to have a legal opinion rendered about their authority, and according to the attorney, that is attorney-client privileged unless you decide to waive the privilege. So I need your,
Well, I was actually CC'd on that, and I was at the meeting there the other night. I don't really think there's anything in there that is really too alarming, except to the fact that, you know, the Heritage Commission did vote. There was 3 votes last night. There was one for the historic district, one for buildings you administered. You know, Connie was there too. And then there was one separate vote for the Garvin building for those state guidelines. Obviously, I voted against it just because I was really uncertain whether that could apply. But anyway, I don't really think there's anything in there that's...
well, I think first of all, I think the reason the attorney's recommending that it not be released is because you pay $175 an hour for a legal opinion, and if you give it out, you're giving potentially, once you waive the attorney-client privilege, then you might as well just give it to the guy, because if he sues us, that is your entire case listed out. It's certainly your prerogative to do so, and it may answer a lot of questions for that gentleman, and then he knows where the town's attorney stands.
Well,
It's your call.
The
You're
covenants are in place for that building, and, you know, that is one thing that I can tell you, that it's assured by the attorney that those covenants are there, and they are there to stay, and they were in the deed, and I think the Heritage Commission's working with the owner, and I don't think there's any issue right now.
Okay,
But-
so then can you make a motion to waive the attorney-client privilege so I can provide this to the resident that is requested?
I'd like to think about it a little bit longer, though, if you don't mind.
Okay,
Just,
I have 5
'cause
days.
I have it, I just want to read through it again.
Okay.
And to make
So
sure.
I have 5 days. I've responded to the person and told them I was asking tonight,
Mhm.
and I will respond back, because this is within the 5 days, and say that that it probably won't be decided until your November 20th meeting.
Okay.
That be okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be fine. Did you get a copy of that, Ken?
No, no.
I'll provide it to you as well.
Yeah, you can find
Yeah.
it.
It's not a secret, it's,
Exactly,
send
to
it
me
out
it's
to you
not
and see
that
if-
big of a deal if we
it's
release
just
it.
that it's, like I said, attorney-client privileged,
Yeah.
and I think
Yeah,
generally
it wouldn't be
attorneys.
fair for them to say yeah or nay
Without
without them.
reading it.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'll make sure you all get it. So I just want to just give you a heads up, as part of the archaeological study, we were notified, actually Pam Wigan was notified, and she forwarded the email to me about an underground storage tank that was found on the town, it's half on the town's property, half on the railroad property. Horizon Engineering thinks there is some chance that it is a fuel tank. And there's grant money available to do test pits and see what kind of tank it is. I know that the engineering company is pushing kind of hard for this because it probably should be identified, but I think that we need to have a conversation with the railroad, because at no point did the town of Wakefield ever run any fuel in that park. And so if it is a fuel tank, it could be really costly to clean up and to remove, and the railroad would have been the person that put it in and that benefited from it, and so we should, I think, have an open conversation with them
Oh,
before we start jumping on
If
this.
it's across both our properties, yeah, you definitely have.
Well, but it's across both of our properties because we obtained a piece of property from North Coast,
It's hot potato, you got stuck with it.
Yeah.
and maybe we can just give Turntable Park back to the state, since they don't want it, at least it does.
We won't do that.
But yeah, I think we need to do a little more research before we jump on the grant bandwagon and worry about test pits. But I did want you to be aware of it because these can be very easy and
Trying to think
cost
of what
effective
would
and-
be fuel there though. Because
well, Pam thinks it's right in line with the water tank. She thinks that it was just another water holding tank. But the engineering company in Brock seem to think that there is some possibility it could be a fuel tank.
Well, they would have to pump it out of the ground, usually if it was railroad related, it'd been gravity. Had it up high, pumped it up, and gravity bring it down. If it's in the ground, they would have to pump it up.
Yeah, I don't. Do they have any idea what size it is?
Big.
No, and that's another thing. I haven't gotten the until I see the final plan from,
And that won't be
Victoria
put out until
Bunker.
May, from what I heard last night. I mean,
yeah, but they have a draft plan. I mean, I think,
Yeah.
I think Pam could share the draft plan with us so we could at least get some kind of idea of the circumference of it, or, you know.
Yeah, let's see if we can get that.
And then I wanted to update you on the doings at the Carroll County Broadband Committee. So they got the grant that they were looking to get, us and I think 5 or 6 other communities, Kentucky. So now they're asking us to do a little bit of work for them and give them some parcel counts, and also to make a RFI, a request for information from any of our internet carriers, which I believe in our town would be Spectrum and Consolidated. And they're asking that you guys sign the letter because under the state statute, I think you could authorize me to sign the letter, but I've actually taken the liberty of drafting up the letter.
Well, you're the liaison to that.
I am the liaison, but the statute says that the selectmen can make the request. So I've put their request to letterhead for your signatures. What I would say, though, that you might want to make a motion that if I find any other carriers, that it's all right for me to write the letter to them and authorize that.
Aren't some of the satellite companies providing that now? Internet service?
Yeah, HughesNet. Yeah.
So there's one to Consolidated, and then there's 3 to Spectrum, to 3 different managing places. And they have 60 days to respond. And this is basically just kind of fact finding for that grant in all the Carroll County communities.
All right, and I'll make a motion to authorize Kelly to draft letters to any others that are found.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
That was all. No, that was a lot.
Okay. Tax collectors monthly comparison. Do we have any building permit releases?
You do not,
All right,
but you do have a petition for a poll license.
okay. Let me see if we got it yet. Poll license. We have poll license for 5 Davis Farm Road. No, that's a one. I never can find the
I think
address.
it's on the other page, it's not on the other page, I think it's on the page of the map.
Those are the first page, I think. Yeah. It's for Duffy Circle, Wakefield.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's just that one, Tony?
Yes, but there's 3 copies of this.
Yeah, let's do that. We got the payment manifest too.
There is the letter in there about Turntable Park too. I didn't know if you wanted me to change that letter. We didn't really talk about that.
On what the,
Well, we went there and we talked about purchasing Turntable Park, and they led us to believe that if it had, the big stumbling block for purchasing Turntable Park is the fact that if any federal money was used, some federal grant money, you can't even make a park somewhere else, and some you can. So they have researched that, and there was no federal grant money used to get Turntable Park. But all they're offering us is a 25-year lease, and their argument, Nadine from DNCR, she was recommending something longer, like a 50 or a 99-year, because it's easier to get grants
yep,
if you have a longer duration of lease. 25 was actually the lease she was talking about. She was really more excited about a 30 or a 50 or a 99. Apparently all they're gonna offer us is a 25-year. We haven't seen the draft of that yet. Their argument is that they'd only wanna do it to us because that is the gateway to the Cotton Valley Rail Trail, which is a very popular and well-used trail. My argument to them was that we have been fantastic stewards of this property. We've done nothing to affect the access to the Cotton Valley Trail, and never would, and certainly covenants could be put in anything to protect that. The original deed we had didn't even include that triangle, that back triangle that goes to the, and we've been taking care of that and mowing it and making that access to the trail accessible, you know, with no real ask, except that it's an integral part of our downtown.
yeah.
It's everything we do. We do in Turntable Park, Pride Day, Parks and Rec program. The playground is at the back of it. I don't understand why they won't let us buy it, because now I think I agree with Pam Wiggin as far as when you find all these historic relics underneath here, and this archaeological study is going to identify those, that piece of property is of no interest to anybody.
No.
More than it is of interest to Wakefield.
No, at the meeting of Monday, everybody was in the consensus that we do go after the lease.
The
It
lease
is, yeah,
instead
it
of
is.
buying it.
Well, that's the only option we have right now, so let's get that done as soon as possible, because that affects grants and all that.
Okay. All right, then I'll
Yeah.
send this letter.
Yep. And we'll cross our fingers, maybe we will be able to purchase it someday, but it doesn't make any sense why they wouldn't want to give it to us, but. Okay, you got it. All right, we have a treasurer's payroll warrant for $98,068.33.
I'll make the motion for that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And we have the treasurer's warrant for $944,740.71.
You tell the selectmen stipends are in there, huh?
Yeah.
I'll make the motion for that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Moving on. We have the board minutes, we have,
Oh, no. Put signature things on there.
How will we know with the
How
sign?
will you know where to sign?
none of these non-publics need to be sealed
They
by
do.
regular stuff, huh?
They do not.
All right. I'm gonna make a motion for non-public number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And then we have our
Top page.
regular board minutes. Motion for
Yep.
that? Okay, I'll second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Do these first, please.
She's
Missing
watching
one.
live at
Do
home.
you want some of mine? That's my extras.
You have an extra? Yeah, just one. Thank you, Kelly.
Okay. Do you got anything for the work session, Kenny?
Have anybody heard from the water department?
Regarding?
When they were here, we awarded the bid to Integrity, and that was just to award the bid to Open Communication. And I thought that with Open Communication, we would be communicated with when they were gonna start, how they were gonna start, when they would be working, completion date and things like that. I was told yesterday they moved into the transfer station to start work.
They staged, so they called Brock yesterday and asked to stage there. I'm still confused, and I don't know why nobody can answer the question of who told them to stage at the transfer station. But Brock didn't feel comfortable, they brought it to me, and he did not want them in the transfer station because there was so much conversation recently about, the Johnny Blackwood project, and there were specific constraints put on that. Well, they showed up at the transfer station today and staged all their stuff there.
Yeah.
So there was a pre-construction meeting today at 4 o'clock, and Brock says they will be moving their stuff tomorrow to the highway garage, where he would prefer them to stage, where he can keep an eye and be a part of that. But we still don't have any idea how they got in there. They have no key. We don't know how they got in there. We don't know. We assume that Eversource was working in there under their right of way.
Yeah.
And they may have not let them in, but, have gotten in there then. But they did not have anybody's permission. We specifically said that, Brock specifically told them that, he wanted to talk to the water department at the pre-construction meeting tonight at 4, and then run it by the selectmen before he, decided anything. And nobody seems to know how it all happened. But Integrity has been, Brock is pretty impressed with them, and
They are a
pretty
good
impressed with
company.
their knowledge, and so they have agreed to move their stuff tomorrow, and that's all I got. Excuse me. That was just finished, that pre-construction meeting was just finishing up at 5:30 when I got back here.
I mean, it's the worst time of the year to start besides January. And I mean, it is a legitimate, a good company. They're gonna wanna finish as quick as it is, but I thought once we started communication, we could have discussions such as, if it's going to be beautiful Saturday and Sunday, but rain Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, snow, sleet Friday, are they gonna work the weekends and not the week that it's horrible? They're not. They're gonna work just the weeks, and I don't want this thing drawn out any further. It shouldn't even start at this point, is my
Well, they're starting Monday. They're they're getting their hot top out of Drake-It, because Drake-It stays open all year round, which I think Brock said they need heated bodies
To haul it that far, yeah.
I mean, I think the problem is they bid a price, and we can't put the parameters on that, or they won't make any money. So they bid that job,
It's a
told Brock,
July project, should be done July, not November 11th, to start it, which is
you
going
didn't
to
say
December.
that. You didn't put
I
that
s-
condition on that.
The water department said, we just got to award it to somebody so we can start talking to this person and then we can talk. So that's when I thought we were gonna talk. At this point, I'm not gonna sign off on anything. I'm sure Charlie will, so I'm sad Charlie's not here tonight, but when it comes time to sign the bills,
Well, you authorized Mark to sign for the project, and Peter Kasperzik and Paul Morrow left the contract here
yeah,
tonight.
which
so-
I'm good, as long as I'm not signing for it, but it's just miscommunication. I thought we had this cleaned up a little bit. And I understand they were just awarded a huge contract. It's a great project. They want to get it going, but
I don't think they'd mind waiting till the spring either, but that isn't, I mean, it was an emergency CDBG.
Yeah,
And
it
so when
was.
you apply for an emergency, then,
It's an emergency.
It's an emergency and you get her done,
Yeah.
so.
Kenny, the last time they were here, I didn't get the impression that they weren't gonna start, or that we were gonna be in communication. I thought that was gonna start immediately.
Which was 2 weeks ago,
Yeah.
3 weeks ago. Yeah. I thought there would be, and again, it was stressed very loud that we need to award it to somebody so we can have this discussion. And apparently there was some discussion. Here's our transfer station. Here's, go ahead and stage your stuff. But there was none.
Well,
I didn't even know there was a
that happened
pre-construction
because-
meeting today.
Did Joe allow that, or did?
No, I don't think so. They weren't open today. It's Wednesday. I think Eversource was in there or something, and they got it in there, which I'm all for helping them and doing it, but if we, and I've run into bad weather in November, sub-zero that you don't expect, and it just gets bad, and you're not patching the road, it's a horrible season to start, but I'm just disappointed.
But the project itself was only supposed to last 2 weeks, correct?
Weather permitting, I guess. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know. Is it gonna snow Friday and Sunday and Monday?
As long as it's warm and snowing, it's not a big deal. If
Right.
it's sub-zero and
Well, it's when the ground starts moving around.
yeah, and then the state's not going to be excited about digging their roads up if it's that cold too, and they'll have to mow under one and another. And I mean, at least they've got a really good company to do the work. So, and I'm sure he wants to finish it just as quick as he can too. But
He does.
again, with profit and overhead, he's not going to go overtime to do it on certain days and stuff. But
I think it's a weird project because we are the grantee,
yes,
but it is not our project.
Yep.
And so we are,
we have the money but no control.
well, yeah, and I tell you my concerns, I tried to tell you this summer when the whole project started. Tax bills haven't gone out. You don't have $500,000 to put bills out there. I know Donna Lane said that, we could get a bill, but I don't think Integrity understood that from what Brock said at the meeting.
That would have been part of the
They expect to
communication
get
to talk
paid.
to them about
Right,
prior to.
and so there's a cash flow
Yeah.
issue. I asked this, this summer, and everybody kind of poo-pooed me off of, writing $500,000 worth of bills is a full-time job for Michelle, and requesting it from CDBG is a full-time job for me. And we don't have the cash flow right now. We owe money, we are going to owe money to the school in December and to the county, and the county comes with a 10% late fee if we don't.
It was understood that if the money wasn't here from the grant, that they would have to wait.
Right, and I
But I
don't
wonder if
think, I
they
don't
ever
think
got-
Integrity
I was just going to
understands
say, I
that,
wonder
because
if that's ever been relayed to
right, because
them.
they've got
Well,
They've got
we're
equipment to
sitting here in
pay
an
and-
open meeting with the grant administrator, but
right,
Yeah,
but that's
yeah.
not the poor guy that signed off on construction. And
Exactly.
Brock said that's not what he understood from the pre-construction meeting. So I think it's unfortunate that the Board of Selectmen were not invited to the pre-construction meeting, because I
Yeah.
think as the grantees, we're into this for some things
Oh, yeah.
that we are not getting any say
We're
in.
going to be the non-payers.
Well, or not, because,
Because we're going to pay our payroll before we pay a water.
Right, but if-
bill.
but if he
Yeah.
doesn't get paid and can't pay his guys, he's going to leave with our road open. And, so there's some conversation that probably should have taken place.
I think the company understands the process and that.
Yeah.
But what I'm
I don't
saying
think
to you
that's
is,
gonna bankrupt them if they don't get their money
I've done
exactly when they
CDBG
bill.
projects, I've never seen them paid the way Donna Lane said they get paid, so
Mhm.
I hope that that is correct.
Yeah.
Rainbows and unicorns. No, I hope it comes out a lot better. I'm just, I hope the communication becomes
So
better.
you have to go back to your non-public because you didn't get it done.
Yep. Yeah, so we are going to enter non-public session for RSA 91-A:3, 2, CAAA,
Anytime.
and 5, A, B, C, and E.
So do you want to go back to my office and do the C?
Yeah, because they're gonna have to break down their equipment, so.
Okay.
All right, so, thank you all for coming out. We're gonna have to go into non-public.
Have a good night, thank you.
Yep.
Are you gonna come back to public and seal and do stuff, or what are you gonna do afterwards?
That's. the
That'll only
question
be to
we
adjourn
have
the
to-
meeting, there's nothing
You
left.
need to seal. You just gonna adjourn, I think, after.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll be adjourning after non-public.
Push those chairs in.
I'm terrible about
That's a good question. Should we
Push the chairs in.
adjourn the public meeting or go into
I
non-public?
think we should move it now to go into non-public so that they have that.
Well, I didn't, we're roll
Yeah.
call,
Aye,
aye,
aye.
aye.
Okay.
Roll call, aye.
Aye, aye, aye.
Yeah,